Has England squandered a seismic break for the series? What's for sure is Joe Root showed us the dark side of baseball today, but will they talk about it in England and here? India's young bucks today roused the nation as the home team saved their best cricket for their day of need after ASHWIN'S departure due to family matters. Hello and welcome to TGC's coverage of day 3 of the test from Rajkot. That is the third test. It's Pezza here solo. Can I start with an apology before I get to Higgins' absence, which is also an apology as well? Keen-eyed observers on the internet will have noted that we commemorated and celebrated the 500th test wicket of Jadeja via our YouTube title last night, and conspiracies spewed forth, and that's everybody's right. That's a lot of people's want and need. That's fine. All I can say is it wasn't trolling. It wasn't tricking the algorithm. This business isn't at that kind of conceptual level yet. We're just talking about editing at 1 a.m. and mistakes that can happen from there. As you can see, the honchos at our business, Rare Entertainment, such as myself, have are approaching this generously. Obviously, that edit has been let go and shot because, as they say, shoot one, educate 1,000, or as they also say, when you kill a fly, also say out loud, let that be a lesson to the rest of you. You may have to see doctors if you do that. Nevertheless, I'm just bringing you under the hood of how TGC works. Different kind of start, different flavour, isn't it? When it's just one guy. Where is the other guy? Higgins, the attractive one. Look, let me leave that again with our patrons. Patreon.com/Grade Cricketer. They had a few suggestions as to where he goes. Maybe one suggestion was that he went to a model train set convention. Another said that there was a penny farthing championships in Tasmania, where I released information that that's where he was. Someone else ventured that he might have been at Taylor Swift, who's playing at the MCG tonight, which would have been a real twist on matters. Nevertheless, I can let you all know that it was known in advance and agreed that this would be happening solo. He is at a wonderful wedding in Launceston, Tasmania, with his partner, with their family, with friends, everyone looking good, no doubt eating cheese, drinking champagne, celebrating and adding warmth to a wedded relationship, to the nuptials. And this business can carry on, I think. And also, if it's of any interest to you, Launceston's Ricky Ponting country. And so this is a cricket program, so that matters. People awoke to the news, IST, GMT, AEST or otherwise, that Ravichandran Ashwin overnight had pulled out of the test immediately. To put it officially, he would be out for the remainder of the match to attend to a family emergency. The BCCI at 10:50 local time issued a statement from Jaiswal saying that Ashwin was leaving the camp mid-test match and would not return. Now, and this is per Ali Martin in The Guardian, best in the business. He said Rajiv Shukla, the vice president of BCCR, sort of a mix with USSR, BCCI, later wrote on X that he was wishing a speedy recovery of mother of Ashwin. He has to rush and leave the Rajkot test to Chennai to be with his mother. All we can do is just wish all the best to R. Ashwin and his family there. There was then an onflow of conversation about whether the wonderfully spirited team of England would permit a replacement player on compassion grounds, but the laws of cricket stood up, as is their want and need, and it turns out it wasn't possible to do that. It was only possible to do it if it was in between the toss and the start of the game because of injuries and stuff like that. So it's not something that England could have done, even if they wanted it, and I'm sure they would have done that. Crazy time for absences with India, seriously. You've got Kohli out for personal reasons, Ashwin out for personal reasons. KL Rahul, I think, was going to be fit for this game, but then was injured. Jadeja obviously did his hamstring, but has come back. Even Bumrah was a chance to miss this game. And when I think about those kinds of things as an Australian contemplating overnight England somehow arresting momentum from India, something I've never really seen in my life when it comes to Test cricket in India, you're starting to think like, well, at least we'll have an excuse if England does well in this game. Turns out India actually had a bit of energy today, and you know what that means. Charlie, do it.
Did you think that your talent would leave you today when it was all up to you? All you need is a little spark to go like hell. energy.
Let's have a look at some scores because we have the production value to do that from day 3 at Rajkot. Here is, what are we going to look at here? We're probably going to look at who was batting? Yeah, England was batting overnight. They resumed at 207 for 2. Duckett was absolutely unassailable. He was on 133. England was 238 in arrears, but Deck was flat. ASHWIN was out. What an opening they had. Grand Canyon-esque. Yeah, wow. I really feel like we saw the flip side of baseball. We won't really talk about what that means too much. You're just bound to say that, well, you've got to take the rough with the smooth, and isn't the cricket still wildly entertaining? And if you do critique it, then you are therefore rattled. So I appreciate all the comebacks to those things. But we're going to get onto the Joe Root stuff in a second, just hold your horses. You're looking at Bairstow there. Just from the bowling perspective, Charlie, flick that up. Just pretending that you're doing that right now. Siraj, good to see him take wickets in Indian conditions in those situations where it's not presenting sort of conventional seam and swing. Kuldeep Yadav bowled the house down. Figures don't reflect, and the ball to Duckett doesn't reflect. He was at his bamboozling best. We're talking about India standing up today. Because they were not looking good at the start of the day. And I think that's going to be a sleeper story around the world. Most of the people will want to talk about baseball being shit. That's just because of the extremity of this style of cricket that England plays. It just draws you in to drama, like the complete roller coaster of it. Of course, the answer is somewhere in the middle, or that tends to be where it lands, but yeah, I get what am I saying? India bowled pretty well. Cheers. All right, on to the Root stuff. Let's talk about the dismissal to begin with. State of play of the game. What is he? He's 18. He's on 18. Yeah, and just starting the day, a couple of minutes in, but obviously with England's style of cricket and their mentality, the time of day doesn't really matter, and we saw what has come to be known as, the statement shot of baseball, that reverse scoop. Root gets it straight off the face. This is Jasprit Bumrah bowling, by the way, probably the best quick bowler in the world at home. I think attempted to get reverse swing. Straight off the face from Root, but it is straight to Jaiswal, who takes a nice catch. It's at a nice height for him, but he still has a turn with it, and it's coming at speed, and you're probably not used to taking catches like that in training. And yeah, then let the games begin vis-a-vis the discourse. You had Nick Knight, who, and I think the England guys have been commentating pretty well for guys wearing India on their shirts while commentating. They're certainly a lot more confident than the Aussies are when we commentate over there, or when we do send guys who are confident, they tend to last a match. You don't really see much of that. But Nick Knight was there at lunch insisting that Joe Root's shot, like the PR machine. I feel like the trench warfare of baseball and the PR machine that backs it did go into some kind of hyperdrive or overdrive at the time, or even just the Joe Root block, because you had Nick Knight, ordinarily a measured, intelligent commentator, insisting that Joe Root's shot wasn't baseball influenced. What is this reflex to gaslighting us? Like that shot is literally Joe Root's emblem and like homage to baseball. And it is rough with smooth stuff with that shot. Did we not witness and suffer in Australia the wankery of when he did that to Cummins in the Ashes first ball, an entirely similar scenario when it's completely unlikely, extreme, and unexpected. The verbiage that gushed forth from the mouths of the filleting acolytes when he played that shot. Look at what we're doing to you. You've never seen this before. There's a flip side to it. And we saw it today. And in fact, we saw it with the entire England innings. It'll just be brushed aside and ignored. And then we'll get back to the filleting. I noted that Shield Berry, the venerable Shield Berry, long-standing cricket journalist in England, when Joe Root played his reverse scoops in the Ashes, there is a headline here. He wouldn't have written it, but it does say, Joe Root's reverse scoops kicked off the most dazzling hour of batting I've seen in 480 tests. 3 reverse ramps inside the first 2 overs of the day underlined England's radical new approach to the test game. That was back in June. That was back in June. And here is the little blurb to Shieldberry's article today. Joe Root's latest baseball shot is the stupidest in English Test cricket history. Same shot, pretty similar scenario. Fine line, isn't it? Like be aggressive, not reckless. I think that reverse scoop has come to be a statement and symbol of the baseball era. Extreme, unexpected, a physical and psychological message to opposition and fans around the world. We are here. You haven't seen this before. We are taking the game to new heights. We are smarter, better, more powerful, resourceful, thoughtful. We will take over things. It's also the shot, I believe, that looks most like self-fellatio on contact. You sort of crouch down, you tuck yourself up, your handle's in a particular position. Obviously, if you get it right, and I'm talking about self-fellatio, that's heaven. And if you get it wrong, it's embarrassing. It also kind of looks like if you turned yourself, you're at the fetal position. So as a symbol, that all stands to reason. And don't forget the good side of that, okay? When it works, self-fellatio, all good. Wonderful shot. What's he talking about? So that's Joe Root. I'm going to sort of come back to that in a broader sense a little later. And then we move on to Johnny BAIRSTOW. Okay. Well, he didn't look that comfortable, JB. Why, JB? It looks pretty adjacent. I got to say, it looked out. Obviously, the dismissal's a result of Ashwin into the footmarks there. I think we all agree that that's 1-0 India. You'll take the 5 runs you've conceded for Ashwin and friends running into those footmarks and enabling Kuldeep to get that bite. Why does he review it? The grounds. I'm thinking, what are the grounds on which you review that? Is it that Dharmasena took far too long to give that, and then also from the camera angle we couldn't see his finger going up? The appeal went for longer than it needed to for what that was. Did that give BAIRSTOW encouragement? When you do get out in wherever you're from, any culture around the world, you are criminally minded, and you never believe you're out. That's professional. That's pro sports mind. That's pro sports brain. What's Duckett thinking there? Is it a laugh for Duckett? There's a lot of questions because I'm just unsure of the basis on which it wouldn't have been out. He knows he doesn't hit it. It's not going over. It's not going past. It's nowhere near hitting him outside the line. The other funny thing that just made it look particularly out is that he, normally when you get trapped on the pads, he gets, if you have your pads blown up, whatever it is, whatever the verbiage, you sort of tend to walk out of the way as though you're creating an optical illusion for the umpire. It's a ridiculous thing to do, or borderline embarrassing, but it's still something you do as a force of habit. Not BAIRSTOW. He just stood there as if to give Dharmasena a really good look at it. As he just stood there with his pads exactly where your pads would be if you were standing with your legs before the wicket. We're talking like MCC rule stuff, 1800s. Just put your pads there. That's what the rule was built on. Your legs are standing before the wicket. Anyway, he reviewed it, so he took one with him, which made it funnier. Look, I'm not saying that's at the level of diving into me couch when he's trying to sweep Axe first ball. But at least he's contributing, YJB. And then we had the Duckett half tracker, all right. He's 153 to the good, so he's done enough. But again, are we allowed to talk about that in the context of the other side of baseball? Like if you are going like that kind of okay, we saw Patadar get out in a very similar way end of the day today, where it just held up. But that was Kuldeep's worst ball. Spinners can get wickets like this, but it was just a shot of. Probably a shot of a tired guy, but again, it's not the shot of somebody who is looking to bury the opposition, because that is not in keeping with the style of baseball. So it is rough with smooth stuff. Today was really rough. Rest of the innings, Stokes goes, he holds out, he's looking good. Nice little partnership with Folks there, and then the rest of them were knocked over quick, smart. Siraj ends up with a couple. And Piers Morgan says, England cricket fans who turn on players like Root whenever they get out to an aggressive shot need to give their traditional old wizened heads a massive wobble. Bazball is brilliant, good, bad, sometimes ugly, but usually scintillating and always thrilling to watch. I want to talk about that at the end. Does it just actually come out at the mean? Does it come out at the median? Or mean, whatever the fuck it is, in terms of runs? But you just get higher highs and lower lows. I don't know. Cricket is a game of maths. I don't know about that. And then finally, India comes out and has a stick. And you know what? I sighed and I breathed out. I relaxed because finally India just had a stick. They just had a stick. Okay, that wasn't before Rohit was just completely adjacent LBW and we had to go through the rigmarole of having to overturn another Joel Wilson decision. Honestly, what is the deal with Joel Wilson? Like, please let me know. Like, an ICC stats / nonce guy, and it will be a guy. Like, is it a case of once you dig into the data, you understand that Joel Wilson really is a great umpire? Like, my understanding is that like the ICC, whip these umpires into submission when it comes to the percentage of correct decisions, etc. Like, is it a voice thing? I'd understand that players do react well to a nice cadence, a nice tone from an umpire. I can understand how a Caribbean accent could do that to players, and I'll respect that to an extent. But what's going on? Genuinely, it's not even my team. I don't know. Is it one of those things where like you buy a car and it's only once you buy that car you see that car everywhere? Like, is that the case? We had the Joel Wilson decision in the Ashes in 2019. Someone said that's a biased call from me, but nevertheless, is it one of those things once you see it, you can't unsee it? You see it everywhere. And then let's talk about something positive. Jaiswal and Gill. I want to talk about Jaiswal really. He takes 30 odd from 2 overs of Anderson and Hartley, and that's when he's really, really kicking into gear. The thing with Jaiswal is like it's extremely attractive to watch. The chassis on it belies the smallness of the face. His face is quite sort of tiny, which in turn I think biologically that makes you feel like someone is cute with a small face. But the rig and the chassis and the shoulders around it are deceptively light. Like it's almost shoulders for days. You're almost getting to that territory. Jaiswal is a T20 base. At the base of his cricket is as a T20 player, but at the same time, simultaneously has the T20 base, and he seems to have the run gluttony. Already in this series, as a 22-year-old, because this is a couple of years younger than Cameron Green, who's just bursting onto the scene for Australia. It's a double ton. It's now 100 red. He's done his Jimmy Jack. Maybe he'll come back for some more runs. And God, today was real cash in after tea vibes. India are a long way ahead in this game. Obviously, I'm now legally obliged as an Anglosphere I don't know. I mean, I suppose I'm living on the land. No, actually, I'm not living on the land of the Anglosphere. That is literally the opposite of what I'm doing right now. But as I suppose, as somebody who has been in and around the Anglosphere, I'm now obliged to say that no score is safe with this England side, and Graham Swan, I think, told us 1,000 times you can actually flip it, and England tomorrow could have the day that India had today. And because of the way they score and how they score and how beautiful it all is, there's just no target is safe. So I don't know why India's even bothered to show up. But we are into India stick territory. Patidar, disappointing. Tough gig for Patidar, batting number 4 for India. It's never going to look and feel and have the gravity of what has been coming in at number 4. Not for a really, really long time. And I felt sorry for him with his dismissal, although it was a dog shit shot. But yeah, cash in after tea vibes. India a long way ahead. Plenty of wickets in the hutch. England's going to have to do something extraordinary to turn this around. India's going to have to fuck it up somehow. But extremely strong position. Let's finish with hashtag ASKTGC. Look, really simple. It's a man who writes in, a man. Can never be sure. And they just say, so Bazball, good or bad? And I guess the first thing to say is, like, at what point, possibly already, will it become tedious to have this discussion every time? I think the discussion is still relevant because the style of cricket is so at odds with the assumptions that we've, and the conventions that we've been used to across the entire history of the game. So in that context, it's still extremely new, even though we've got a decent sample size of a team having played this style, and they have done extremely well relative to where they came from. It's a damn sight better than what came before. It's always interesting to see cricket's sacred cows and assumptions questioned, and given like the general trend towards short form cricket, I should say, there's like a strategic intelligence to breeding this type and style of cricketer so as to conflate all formats. Fuck, it'd be good for Higgins just to jump in right now with something real clean and simple, preferably with a swear word as well. Just want to say one thing to finish off, and this speaks to the question or the point of the discourse around baseball when it doesn't go well. Like what England threw up today was every bit as damning and bad as some of their most excellent, memorable days of cricket. To be 2 for 220, 220 for 2. Balls deep in this test that is going to have a huge say in the outcome of the series, with India having just lost their premier champion spinner, their other spinner on restrictions due to injury. That opening for them was seismic. And from that position to dish up what they did today, with the dismissals being perfectly in line with this style of play that they speak about, can only logically be sort of reflected on and taken as a deeply disappointing thing. But because of the blind, resounding, boundless, like without boundaries positivity that anyone who is talking about baseball is now bound to, there is now this fucking vacuum where there's no critique or criticism of it. But like, this is the thing from my perspective, like just when you think, fuck, they might just be changing the game here. Maybe we will be like begrudgingly subjecting ourselves to a period of England dominance and an England revolution, because you see them chip into these sides, like, the way they've chipped into India in this series is something Australia's never really been able to do. That they are closer to a series win than Australia has been for a very, very, very long time, since 2004. So something is right about it. There is an excellence to it. But every time you get to that point, they also then can throw up a performance like today, which brings them back to earth with like an equal but opposite performance. It's like, to me, like it's like working with precociously gifted but flawed people. And a lot of us will have experienced this in life. Like when you work with people like this, or you come across people like this in your life, it's intoxicating. You watch them go to planes of conceptual operation, or you work with them, you go to planes that you've never seen before or been before, but after a while you deduce that there's a pattern, that the high will never last too long. There is always an extreme low around the corner. It's life with a certain polarity, thrilling and scintillating to be sure, but equal parts infuriating and exasperating. It does feel equal at the moment. And ultimately, after a while, that gets really exhausting. They say the best teams are reflective of their leaders, and maybe that tallies here too. I say it's equal parts. It probably isn't, to be fair. It's mainly good baseball at the moment, and perhaps as they keep practicing it and refining it, it will get better and better. Today was a day where the style was very much part of what let them down, but perhaps they'll improve, and we will sadly have to cop that. And I appreciate, ladies and gentlemen, everything that I've said in critique of it means that I am rattled. I hope I've provided the appropriate caveats. I, like you, look forward to Higgins' return. Thanks very much for joining me tonight, day 3 from Rajkot. It's not from Rajkot at all. It's from West Footscray, where I live. I think there's a sufficient number of houses to mean that you won't know where exactly that is. Not that any of you probably give a, have I sworn so far? Fuck. Cheers.